What's up, you amazing people? I hope you're having a fantastic day. You are, of course, watching and listening to the Daily Dirty 30, also known as the DDT, here on The Kevin Lee Show. And I am your host, Kevin Lee. Now, for those of you who do not know what the DDT is all about, let me take a moment to explain. You see, it's a show that airs live at 9 p.m. Central Standard Time, Monday through Friday, and it's where I get to spend 30 minutes telling you, the viewer, all about the things that bother me today. What do I get out of it? It's easy. It's therapeutic. Why should you tune in? That's even easier. It's entertaining. Sound like a fair trade? Good. Let's get to it. Hello, friends, and happy Wednesday. I hope you're having an amazing day, and frankly, I'm glad you're here. You are, of course, watching the Daily Dirty 30 here on The Kevin Lee Show, which airs Monday through Friday, 10 p.m. Eastern, 7 p.m. Pacific, which runs for approximately, roughly 30 minutes. And, of course, my name is Kevin. And today we are going to be talking about something I had promised for the last couple of days, but I'm actually delivering, called Kamala Harris's record as a prosecutor. Now, how can I put this? I wish I had like this great complete episode where I had all this data and images and pictures and I could show you what she did and what she didn't do and how she grew as a prosecutor. I can't. I don't have it. I'm sorry. I tried. So as you know, we started talking about Kamala Harris because she became the nominee last week, and we had a couple of episodes talking more about her and some of her views, or at least what we could find out about her views, just so we could better educate ourselves. Because honestly, I mean, I've heard of her. I've seen what people have said about her, you know, quote unquote, but I actually haven't had an opportunity to get to know who the person is. And I really want to do that because, you know, I know who Donald Trump is. I know who Mike Pence is. I know who Joe Biden is. I don't really know who Kamala Harris is. So like I said, I want to get to know her better. And that's why we're kind of taking a deeper dive, at least into the main issues that she has brought up, or at least spoken on, or what have you, or lived through, like being a prosecutor. Because as we talked about previously, Kamala Harris is a prosecutor, yes. She was the DA for San Francisco from 2004 to 2011. That much I know. And from 2011 to 2017, she was the Attorney General for the state of California. Until she then became the senator, one of the junior senator from California. Actually, I don't know who the older senator is. That's a weird term, isn't it? The fact that we call people junior senators. I mean, that sounds ridiculous, right? A little bit? I don't know. But yeah, so we are going to take we're not going to. We're going to attempt to take a deeper dive into Kamala Harris's record as a prosecutor. And you're going to see very quickly why that is. We may not be able to take as deep of a dive as we would like to, right? But before we get there, how do I look? I changed my lighting today. I didn't even change my lighting. My lighting changed itself, and I tried to change it back, and I couldn't remember what it was set to. So hopefully I look okay, light-wise. Otherwise, we know I don't. But as far as the lights go, hopefully it looks okay. But we are going to jump right into it, I guess. And we're going to bring up a little article that I found by a far right-wing conspiracy website called the New York Times. Of course, that's a joke. The New York Times is not a right-wing or even slight right or even centrist paper or even moderate. They're pretty much to the left, which is fine. I mean, let's call things out for what they are. Everyone has a bias. And just because you work at a newspaper or you're a reporter or you're on TV or whatever it might be, everyone has a bias towards every story. They just do. It's just in your human nature, and it's going to come through, especially nowadays when people have, you know, seemingly ripped off their filters. It just comes out, and they just join groups. And that's why we have websites like the New York, or websites, newspaper. I guess they're websites, right? They're not newspapers anymore because nobody buys the New York Times. They watch it online, read it online, whatever they do something online. But you have the New York Times and the Washington Post. They're both very much to the left. I'm trying to think what other publications. I think conservative. The Red State. I think that's one. I I don't know. I think that's one. As you can tell, I don't really read many right-wing or not right-wing, right-leaning, right whatever newspapers or publications because there just really aren't many. Sorry. But anyways, we're talking back to Kamala Harris. So this is an article that was written. It's an opinion piece, but I think pretty much all news pieces are, at least for stories, for articles. I mean, if you see a headline, if you see what happened in the news yesterday, that may not be an opinion piece, or at least it shouldn't be. But with something like this, it very much will be an opinion piece more times than not. So this one is an opinion piece called Kamala Harris Was Not a Progressive Prosecutor. Now, mind you, again, this is being written by someone who works for a very left-leaning newspaper, which is kind of an odd headline. But if you look at the date, it's actually from last January. So it's from when she was just about to announce her run for the presidency, right? And for whatever reason, this person or what have you just doesn't believe that she is a progressive prosecutor. And again, this is not my personal opinion. This is opinion from a writer from the New York Times. And even with that being said, it's really unfair if you ask me. And the reason why I say that is because, okay, so again, we'll recap. She was a DA, right, for 7 years. And then she was a AG for 6 years before she ran for Senate. And when you're a DA, well, DA is like a mini version of an AG. So an AG is Attorney General for the state. Essentially, a DA is almost like an Attorney General for a city. And it's a very large city. It's a very populated city. And it has plenty of violence. And I'm sure it kept her very busy as being the DA. But the thing is, when you're the DA, it's like being a figurehead because you're actually an elected official. You don't earn that position by your merits. You don't earn it by working hard for a long time. You literally run for office and you get elected as a DA. It's a popularity contest like most elections. And you want to compete and not only prove yourself as a prosecutor, but you want to be electable. So you want to do certain things. You want to go after certain crimes. You want to give certain speeches and make appearances at certain places. So it's ridiculous that we have people who are prosecutors who are elected, but we also have many sheriffs in this country who are elected. Silly. I mean, I guess it's good in a way if you kind of think about it because you want people to be elected so they can not be reelected if they're terrible. So I guess that's kind of good because someone just gets appointed. They're just going to sit there until they're ready to move on or retire. So I guess from that aspect, it is kind of a good thing. I don't know. I'm trying to give everyone the benefit of the doubt here. But that being said, this article, I don't know if it's very fair to Kamala Harris because like I was saying, you're just one person at the top of the pyramid, right? You've got plenty of actual prosecutors underneath you who do most of your cases, who meet on everything. You essentially are the person when you're the DA or you're the AG. It's your job to decide what cases you're really going to prosecute or how to direct your prosecutors to act on certain crimes or laws or on a specific case, or if you're going to decide if you're going to go after someone or prosecute them or not. If it's a big profile case like the whole thing in Chicago, we had Jesse Smollett, something like that, right? That was a thing that our DA, Kim Fox, she decided not to prosecute. But that was her call, right? So she's an elected official and she just got reelected, I think, if I remember correctly. Or maybe she's going to be reelected. I don't know. Something like that. Excuse me. I need a little tea tonight. So yeah. So again, they're not the one prosecuting many cases, if really any cases, as the DA or the AG. I mean, sometimes they do, but often they're just directing people underneath them how to behave and where to go after and so on and so forth. So if your people underneath you happen to be bad, it's not necessarily your fault. And as we'll see very shortly, there is even more reason to not blame a single person as the DA or the AG for records and cases in the place where you are the DA or the AG. So without further ado, let me start reading a little bit of this. It says, okay, so it says the term progressive prosecutor. This is how Senator Kamala Harris of California describes herself, but she's not. When progressives urged her to embrace criminal justice reforms as a district attorney and then state's attorney general, Ms. Harris opposed them. Ms. Harris fought tooth and nail to uphold wrongful convictions that had been secured through official misconduct that included evidence tampering, false testimony, and the suppression of crucial information by prosecutors. Now, that seems like a very damning charge, if you ask me. Again, I don't know Kamala Harris. I don't know if any of that is true. And for someone as a reporter to argue this from the New York Times seems a bit odd to me, even though it was only, it was a year and a half ago, but it was only a year and a half ago. And this is well after she was done being a prosecutor. She had been a senator at this point for years. So it's not like they didn't have time to do homework. So whatever that they found about Ms. Harris, I guess, it's got to be pretty damning, right? The fact that they say that she fought tooth and nail to uphold wrongful convictions that had been secured through official misconduct and included evidence tampering, false testimony, and the suppression of crucial information by prosecutors. I'll go on. It says Ms. Harris was criticized in 2010 for withholding information about a police laboratory technician who had been accused of intentionally sabotaging her work. A memo surfaced showing that Ms. Harris's deputies knew about the technician's wrongdoing but failed to alert defense lawyers. A judge condemned Ms. Harris's indifference to systemic violation of the defendant's constitutional rights. Well, that's actually pretty bad. If I'm assuming that's true, it's in print. I think that they would have been sued and this would have been pulled if it wasn't true. But it says Ms. Harris is contested. Oh, so yeah. So I've actually heard about this case. Do they have any more details? Not really. So what happened is there was a technician who was convicted and who admitted to, I guess, over time of wrongdoing. And tampering, like literally intentionally sabotaging. Now, I don't know enough about the story to know if she was getting paid off. Maybe she was, but apparently she did this, as well as she was stealing drugs from the lab. So she was not doing a very good job for her job. But yeah, in fact, I think there were like literally 600 cases affected by this one woman because of all the cases she worked on. And once it came out that she sabotaged some cases, any judge worth their weight is going to throw out any conviction against someone where this person worked on it. So I can understand why Kamala Harris wouldn't want this to get out or wouldn't want to have to defend this person, because obviously this person is pretty indefensible. But apparently, when this all came to light, Ms. Harris contested the ruling by arguing that the judge, whose husband was a defense attorney and had spoken publicly about the importance of disclosing evidence, had a conflict of interest. Ms. Harris lost. More than 600 cases handled by this corrupt technician were dismissed. So that's pretty bad. It says Ms. Harris also championed state legislation under which parents whose children were found to be habitually truant in elementary school could be prosecuted, despite concerns that it would disproportionately affect low-income people of color. Again, this is not to attack or defend Ms. Harris, but okay, she's a DA. She's an elected official. There's an actual problem in your city of habitually truant children in elementary school, and you can't go after the children because they're minors, so they go after the parents. I don't know. I mean, I'm not close enough to the area to know how much of a problem this really was, but I understand that many people would be concerned that it probably would disproportionately affect low-income people. I assume of color. It says of color, but I don't know if color plays into it, but definitely low-income people who may not be able to get their children to school in a timely manner. That could be an issue. I can see that. Excuse me. Need more tea. So yeah, that's pretty bad. And again, I just kind of picked parts of the article because I'm not going to read the whole thing. It says in 2014, she declined to take a position on Proposition 47. You might have heard of that. It was a ballot initiative approved by voters that reduced certain low-level felonies to misdemeanors. Apparently, she also laughed that same year when a reporter asked her if she would support the legalization of marijuana for recreational use. It goes on to say Ms. Harris finally reversed course in 2018, long after public opinion had shifted on the topic of legalizing marijuana. In 2015, she opposed a bill requiring her office to investigate shootings involving officers, and she refused to support statewide standards regulating the use of body-worn cameras by police. That's interesting. Now, I'm sure she had a reason for that. Not sure what it was. And again, I searched high and low, as you'll see very soon, and I was having much trouble finding anything when it came to statistics or records. But yeah, going on here, it says, worst of all, is Miss Harris's record in wrongful conviction cases. Consider George Gage, an electrician with no criminal record who was charged in 1999 with sexually abusing his stepdaughter, who reported the allegations years later. The case largely hinged on the stepdaughter's testimony, and Mr. Gage was convicted. Afterward, the judge discovered that the prosecutor had unlawfully held back potentially exculpatory evidence, including medical reports indicating that the stepdaughter had been repeatedly untruthful with law enforcement. Her mother even described her as a pathological liar who lives her lies. In 2015, when the case reached the United States Court of Appeals for the Ninth Circuit in San Francisco, Ms. Harris prosecutors defended the conviction. They pointed out that Mr. Gage, while forced to act as his own lawyer, not sure why that would be, had not properly raised the legal issue in the lower court, as the law required. The appellate judges acknowledged this impediment and sent the case to mediation, a clear signal from Ms. Harris to dismiss the case. When she refused to budge, the court upheld the conviction on that technicality. Mr. Gage is still in prison serving a 70-year sentence. Now, again, this is not to say that the person was innocent or guilty. It's not to say that Ms. Harris did anything wrong or intentional, but they sure as hell are implying it rather thickly here. That case is not an outlier. Ms. Harris also fought to keep Daniel Larson in prison on a 28-year-to-life sentence for possession of a concealed weapon, even though his trial lawyer was incompetent and there was compelling evidence of his innocence. Relying on a technicality again, Ms. Harris argued that Mr. Larson failed to raise his legal arguments in a timely fashion. This time she lost. Boy, there's lots of cases to go on here. And we're going to run out of time if I do. Here's one more, though. It says, and then there's Kevin Cooper, a death row inmate whose trial was infected by racism and corruption. He sought advanced DNA testing to prove his innocence, but Ms. Harris opposed it. After the New York Times expose on the case went viral, she reversed her position. Surprise, surprise, because she was an attorney general or DA at the time. I'm not sure which one it was, but you get the idea. This is, and you could say this is a hit piece. It might be, but I just have trouble believing that the New York Times would make a hit piece against a popular Democratic, possible, at this time, potential nominee for the presidency. But maybe. And who knows? Maybe this reporter just had an axe to grind. That I do not know. But again, as I said before, we're talking about her prosecutorial record. And I wish I could give you her record as an AG. I do. I really wish I could. Like I kind of inferred earlier in the program, I tried. And if you don't believe me, here, I'm going to pull it up right here. In fact, I'll make it real big so you can see it. So this is a Google search. For what percentage of cases did Kamala Harris win as California AG, for example? First thing that comes up says Harris won 56% of the vote, becoming California's first district attorney of color. No. So obviously, they got confused there at Google. So I go down to the next one, looking back on Kamala Harris's record in San Francisco. Okay, in California, you think, great, perfect. We're going to get answers. Nope, I went through there, fine-tooth comb, no statistics at all. Next story, what you need to know about Kamala Harris from Politico. Politico, again, very left-leaning publication. You think I would finally have my answers? I don't. There's a couple anecdotal stories of cases she worked on, but nothing actual statistic as an AG. And on through Vox, New York Times, Ballotpedia, Washington Post. Your fact-checking sheet on Kamala Harris. Nothing about her actual record as being a prosecutor. You think it would be important, but apparently it's not. So what I was able to find, mind you, was this. Another article, this time it was by SF Weekly. If you know what SF Weekly is, it's San Francisco Weekly. Again, I want to say they're going to be kind of harsh on Kamala Harris. And they are. They're going to be kind of harsh on her. And we're going to talk about it right now. So this article is entitled A Lack of Conviction. And this actually speaks to her record. Now, it's only as a DA, and it only went up through, and this is actually a publication from mid-2010. So this is when she was actively running for the AG position for the state of California. But at this point, she had already been in office as a DA since 2004, so we're talking about 6 years. And this is almost at the end of her time as a DA. So they do have some information about records. I'm going to try to get through this in a timely manner because we only have about 8 or 9 minutes left. And again, hopefully this will make sense. Let's put it that way. So it says the records show that while Harris's overall conviction rate has reached new highs over the past several years, that success is based almost entirely on plea deals negotiated before defendants accused of serious crimes proceeded to trial. Now, again, in her defense, that is absolutely 100% normal for a DA. Trials cost money, and they cost the taxpayers lots of money, and it takes lots of time, and there has to be tons of motions going through, and the last thing a DA wants to do is go to trial if they can avoid it. All they want to do is get a conviction, get another notch on their belt, and get someone either serving time or whatever, on probation, into rehab, whatever it is that they need. DA is not going to care. So obviously, I don't believe Kamala Harris would have cared. She just wants to get those cases over with, especially ones where you can. I mean, if you got to step down one notch on the plea bargain, but you're still going to get a conviction, they're still going to do jail time. As far as they're concerned, it's a win-win. Okay, reading on. By contrast, felony convictions for cases that actually go to trial and reach a jury verdict have declined significantly over the past 2 years. So, mind you, this is 2010, so probably from about 2008 to 2010, of the actual cases that were going to court, they were losing. Not necessarily her, but her people, the people she put in place. The people she assigned to those cases, they were not doing well, apparently. In 2009, San Francisco prosecutors won a lower percentage of their felony jury trials than their counterparts at district attorneys' offices covering the 10 largest cities in California. So that's not necessarily a good thing. I think most people could understand. But that being said, just because they had a lower percentage, I mean, what was it, like 1%? Was it 2%? I mean, was it, there's a big difference between being very, very close and just slightly behind versus being way behind. So let's read on. Harris's at-trial felony conviction rate that year was 76%. Okay, so in 2009, it was 76%. In the first quarter of 2010, things got worse. During that time, Harris's office secured guilty verdicts in just 53% of its felony trials. Yikes. You don't have to be a statistician to understand that basically only winning 1 out of every 2 felony trials is not a good thing. You could see why they started at the end of her time as a DA getting as many plea bargains as they could, because they weren't doing very well in court. Now, again, this is not necessarily Kamala Harris's fault. Okay, let's make that crystal clear. She's a DA. She's one person at the tip of the pyramid. But that being said, as that elected official, it's going to fall on her shoulders. Could be bad luck. Could be weird cases. Could be bad juries. Could be just, who knows? I don't know. I'm not attacking her on this, but again, it's getting a little hard to defend. It says defendants who took their case to trial had an even 1 in 2 shot at winning an acquittal. By contrast, statewide average was 83%, according to statistics from California Judicial Council. So they're saying that on average, statewide, the victory rate for felony trials was 83%, and in San Francisco, it was at 53%. That's 30% lower. That's pretty substantial. Yeah. So the general decline in felony trial convictions has included more failures in murder cases specifically. Oh, that's bad. If you didn't quite pick that up because I read it weird, it's saying the general decline in felony trial convictions has included more failures in murder cases specifically. So the majority of the cases that they lost were murder cases, which means you're either trying to prosecute an innocent person, which is terrible, or you're letting a murderer go, which is probably, I don't know if it's even worse, but it's definitely right there at the same level. Boy, that's bad. Now we jump down a little bit further in the articles. It's because of this control They exercise over which cases to pursue. Prosecutors technically enjoy overwhelming trial success margins. Okay, we'll talk about that in a second. The Alameda is an example. The Alameda County DA's office, for example, which is a local county near San Francisco, which handles criminal cases in Oakland. And mind you, you've heard things about Oakland. It's not necessarily the nicest or safest neighborhood to be in. Had a 92% felony trial success rate. Okay, so we're going to break all that down real quick. Because of the control, that being prosecutors, being the DA's office, the control that they exercise over which cases to pursue versus what not to do, prosecutors typically enjoy overwhelmingly success in trial because they know they're going in because they have a murder weapon, they have a witness, they have DNA, they got everything. And they know there's almost no reason that you're going to walk. That's why they take the case. And when they don't, that's why they really heavily try to plea bargain to get you on something so they can at least get you in jail and whatever, like we talked about before. So either she was really choosing bad cases, prosecuting bad cases, or letting murderers go, or her office, not her, her office. But again, as the chosen person, as she wanted to be elected as the DA of San Francisco, it fell on her shoulders. And again, Oakland's not the best place. And they had a 92% success rate in their felony trials. And she had 53. It's almost 40% lower. It's craziness. 2006, 2007, 2008, Harris obtained convictions on murder or voluntary manslaughter charges for 86% of defendants in homicide trials. Okay. That sounds pretty good, right? 86%. It's not knocking it out of the park, but it's at least, that's a B working on your way towards a B plus. That's pretty good for the most part. Again, this was only for homicide trials, but still. Then again, that was 2006, 2007, 2008, but in 2009 and the first part of 2010, by contrast, only 55% of those defendants were convicted. Yikes. Again, that's a 30% drop. I wonder what happened. Again, it might have been out of her control. But again, as the DA, you've chosen that position. It's like being the CEO of a company. You can say it's not your fault all you want. You can say, I've got lazy workers, but at the same time, you hire them, you pay them, right? It's not looking very good for a record. But I think that's, on this article, I think that's all I grabbed. And it actually worked out really well because they're already at 28 minutes. So what are we going to talk about? We're going to say that Kamala Harris, she didn't have the best record as a DA. Now, again, I wish I had a record as an AG. I really do. I searched and I searched and I searched because, like I said, I was going to do this originally on Monday and we're at Wednesday. And I had other things that kind of came up that I found interesting, so I kind of put this off to the side, but I was still trying to do some research for it and see what I could find some good stuff because I really want to get her information out there because, like I said, this woman might very well end up being president in 6 months, and I want to know who we're potentially electing. And unfortunately, we're not getting a clear picture. We did talk the abortion thing was very clear. Okay, that's one thing she was completely clear on. And again, you can view it however you want. If you missed that episode, go back and watch it. The reparations, all she talked about more or less was that we need to study it. And I think she was just doing that because she might be for it. She might even be against it. Probably not against it, but probably for it. But she didn't want to go on a limb, so she made a safe suggestion and left it at that. Okay, fine. And now we're here on her record. And unfortunately, we do not have a complete record, so I do not want to draw a picture of who she is as a prosecutor. But again, as a DA or an AG, you're managing that office. You're hiring, firing, you're choosing what cases to do. You're deciding who's going to prosecute which cases. So if your records start going down, you're either choosing badly, either by people or cases, or you're prosecuting the wrong ones or prosecuting the wrong people. I do not know. But again, I really wish we had an AG number. Maybe that's why she got out. Maybe she didn't enjoy being a DA or an AG and she wanted to become a senator. That's what she did. Next, we're going to talk about her record, her voting record, that is, I think, as a senator, which she still currently technically is. And we'll see how that goes. So tomorrow, unless, if something fun and interesting pops up, I mean, who knows? Right now, the Democratic National Convention is going on right now, and there might be some crazy story popping up that I'm going to see tomorrow morning and I'm going to want to talk about instead. And that might happen, or something else might happen. Something else might pop up in the middle of the world. Who knows? And I might end up talking about that. But if I don't, I think we're going to talk about Kamala Harris's voting record, I think, as a senator. Yeah, I think that's what we'll do. Unless, like I said, something else pops up. But that being said, it's already half an hour. We got to go, people. Got to go. But I hope everyone has a good night and has a good day and whatever it might be, wherever it might be, because you might be listening to this at a different day and time. And if so, I hope you're having a fantastic day as well. And we'll see you all tomorrow. Bye-bye.